The night of April 14th, 1912 forever etched the Titanic in history, not for its grandeur but for its catastrophic sinking. Over 1,500 souls perished in the icy depths of the North Atlantic, a tragedy magnified by unsettling realities. Little known to the passengers, the unsinkable ship held a fatal secret. Its lifeboats, touted as the most advanced, could only accommodate half of those on board. This chilling fact wasn't an oversight, but a calculated decision. Shipbuilders, confident in the Titanic's superior design, deemed a full complement of lifeboats unnecessary, prioritizing aesthetics over safety. Adding to the tragedy, the crew, largely inexperienced in emergency procedures, failed to effectively manage the evacuation, further sealing the fate of countless passengers. The Carpathia, the ship that responded to the Titanic's distress calls, arrived hours after the ocean swallowed the once majestic vessel. The sight that greeted the Carpathia crew was haunting, a scattering of lifeboats amidst a debris field, a stark reminder of the human cost of this maritime disaster. The sinking of the Titanic wasn't merely a collision with an iceberg, it was a collision with human fallibility, a stark lesson that even the grandest of ambitions can be humbled by the unforgiving power of the sea. The story of the Titanic begins not with tragedy but with ambition. It was a time of great innovation and fierce competition in the maritime industry, and the Titanic was born out of a desire to be the best. The White Star Line, facing fierce competition from rival Cunard, envisioned a trio of superliners, the Olympic, Titanic and Britannic, designed to dominate the transatlantic passenger trade. These ships were not just vessels, they were symbols of national pride and technological prowess. These behemoths would be the largest, most luxurious ships ever built, a testament to human ingenuity and engineering prowess. They were designed to offer unparalleled comfort and safety, setting new standards in maritime travel. The keel of the Titanic was laid in 1909 at the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, Ireland. This marked the beginning of a monumental project that would take years to complete. Thousands of workers labored tirelessly, their skills and sweat shaping tons of steel into the ship's iconic form. These men, often working in harsh conditions, were the unsung heroes of the Titanic's creation. The Titanic's design was a marvel of its time, boasting state-of-the-art features including watertight compartments intended to ensure its unsinkability, a claim that fueled public fascination and instilled a false sense of security. These compartments were a revolutionary idea, meant to keep the ship afloat even if multiple sections were breached. The ship's interiors were equally impressive, designed to cater to the tastes of first-class passengers accustomed to opulence. From lavish staterooms to grand public spaces, every detail was meticulously crafted to exude luxury. From the grandeur of the grand staircase to the elegance of the dining saloons, no expense was spared in creating an atmosphere of luxury and sophistication. The ship was a floating palace, offering amenities that rivaled the finest hotels on land. The Titanic was more than a ship. It was a floating palace, a symbol of human progress and achievement. It represented the pinnacle of early 20th century engineering and design, a beacon of what humanity could achieve. However, beneath the veneer of luxury and technological advancement, cracks began to appear, subtle hints of the disaster that lay ahead. These issues were often overlooked or dismissed in the rush to complete the ship. The pressure to complete the ship on time and within budget led to compromises, both in materials and workmanship, that would have devastating consequences. These decisions, made in the name of expediency and cost-saving, would ultimately contribute to the ship's tragic fate. The construction of the Titanic was a monumental undertaking, pushing the limits of shipbuilding technology and financial resources. The ship was envisioned as the pinnacle of luxury and engineering, a floating palace that would set new standards in transatlantic travel. However, the ambitious project was not without its challenges and setbacks. The White Star Line, determined to outshine its rivals, spared no expense in outfitting the ship with luxurious amenities, but this extravagance came at a cost. The grand staircase, opulent dining rooms and lavish staterooms were designed to attract the wealthiest passengers, but the financial burden of these features began to weigh heavily on the company. As construction progressed, the company faced mounting financial pressures, leading to shortcuts and compromises that undermined the ship's structural integrity. Workers were pushed to meet tight deadlines, often working long hours under strenuous conditions. The need to cut costs became increasingly apparent, and decisions were made that would later prove to be disastrous. One critical flaw lay in the ship's hull, constructed from steel plates held together by rivets. The hull was designed to withstand the harsh conditions of the North Atlantic, but the materials used were not always up to the task. While the steel itself was of good quality, the rivets used in some sections were of a lower grade, more brittle and prone to failure under stress. These rivets, made from substandard iron, were a cost-saving measure that would have dire consequences. This seemingly minor detail, a cost-saving measure, would have catastrophic consequences when the Titanic encountered the iceberg. The impact caused the brittle rivets to snap, leading to the rapid flooding of the ship's compartments. Furthermore, the ship's watertight compartments, designed to contain flooding in the event of a hull breach, were flawed. The design was intended to keep the ship afloat even if several compartments were breached, but the reality was far different. The bulkheads separating the compartments did not extend all the way to the upper decks. This design flaw meant that water could easily spill over from one compartment to the next, exacerbating the flooding and compromising the ship's buoyancy. This meant that if several compartments were flooded, water could spill over the top of the bulkheads, compromising the ship's stability and sealing its fate. The ship's designers had not anticipated such a scenario, and the consequences were devastating. The Titanic's design, while impressive for its time, was not without its weaknesses. The combination of financial strain, design flaws, and the pressure to meet deadlines created a perfect storm of vulnerabilities. The pressure to meet deadlines and control costs led to compromises that undermined the ship's safety, transforming a symbol of human ingenuity into a recipe for disaster. The Titanic's tragic fate serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of cutting corners and prioritizing profit over safety. As the Titanic prepared for its maiden voyage, a series of warnings, like whispers in the wind, hinted at the peril that lay ahead. The ship, hailed as the epitome of modern engineering and luxury, was embarking on a journey that would tragically become one of the most infamous maritime disasters in history. Experienced seamen and wireless operators relayed reports of icebergs in the ship's path, urging caution. These messages, sent from other ships navigating the same treacherous waters, were clear and frequent. The Marconi wireless operators aboard the Titanic were inundated with these warnings, each one more urgent than the last. However, these warnings were largely ignored, dismissed as inconsequential in the face of the Titanic's perceived invincibility. The ship's officers, confident in the vessel's design and capabilities, believed that any iceberg would pose little threat to their unsinkable ship. This overconfidence was a fatal flaw. Captain Edward Smith, a seasoned mariner with a distinguished career, made the fateful decision to maintain the ship's speed despite the ice warnings. His experience and reputation were beyond reproach, yet even he was not immune to the pressures and expectations placed upon him. It is believed that he was under pressure from the White Star Line to complete the transatlantic crossing in record time, a testament to the company's focus on speed and efficiency over safety. The Titanic was not just a ship, it was a symbol of progress and human achievement, and the company wanted to showcase its prowess. Adding to the string of errors, the Titanic's lookouts, stationed in the crow's nest, were not equipped with binoculars. This critical piece of equipment, which could have provided an early warning of the looming danger, was inexplicably missing. This seemingly minor oversight severely hampered their ability to spot the iceberg in the darkness, leaving them with little time to raise the alarm. The night was clear but moonless, making the iceberg nearly invisible until it was too late. By the time the iceberg was spotted, it was too late to avoid a collision. The ship's size and speed made it impossible to maneuver quickly enough to avert disaster. The iceberg scraped along the starboard side, breaching the hull and sealing the ship's fate. The Titanic's sinking was not solely the result of an unfortunate encounter with an iceberg. It was a culmination of human errors, miscalculations, and a disregard for the power of nature. The ship's design, while advanced, was not infallible, and the human element proved to be its greatest vulnerability. The warnings were there, but pride, ambition, and a false sense of security blinded those who held the fate of the ship and its passengers in their hands. The tragedy of the Titanic serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of hubris and the importance of heeding warnings, no matter how invincible we may feel.